So pink's turn, and here we are in urban sprawl, has ended. He's the first player, of course, and he didn't use his contractor ability to demolish buildings. This was really his first chance to use it. Instead, he did a single big building, the naval base, which allowed him to build here and put a couple of residential spaces in this big 12 space. So he's going to produce a lot of income from it by placing there. And he also grabbed the hobby shop, which is particularly dangerous for green to have. He took that away from green because everyone would have to pay green cash, and green's kind of low on cash. Just swept that up, $4 each. It probably wouldn't matter to anyone except green, although actually black is out of money basically. Then when refilling, we had an election for mayor, and black won the mayorship this time by having the most vocations. He's actually tied with green, but again, nobody wants to give things to green. So he got a park. I don't remember, I think he put it over here. High valued space, again, can generate some income possibly for him. And one event came up from the Metropolis deck, bed and breakfast, that converted one of green's little homes into a commercial building under the mayor's control. So again, it's an attempt to try to take away green's lead. Now right now green's lead actually has diminished greatly, but it's white who's taken the second place away from black. Black and pink are now, you know, really towards the bottom there. Alright, so we'll go over to green's turn. And we must be getting, well, there's still a lot of deck here. I was going to say we must be getting kind of close to ending it, but I don't think we are. Nobody really wants to bring a lot of these out, and some of them are hard to bring out, except for green. Green really wants to get those moving to try to keep his lead as long as he can. Alright. Green worked on maximizing the number of buildings they can put out. They only pulled 2 off the deck. They played out of their favor the amusement park. That was kind of expensive, but it gave them another tourism space and a lot of points, and some cash, which they desperately needed. They built that over here. That was only $7 and produced some decent points for them. And then they bought an auction house, which I believe they put over here, and that created some more points for them. Everybody with more prestige with them would have given them money or a building, well, almost certainly money, but they're in the lead, so they got rid of that. But that prevents anyone from making a real grab to try to gain. So pink could perhaps have pulled up into the white area with that. Not that they're particularly worried about that. They'd rather see white get downgraded, but they wanted the cards out, and they grabbed a card for their favor to get that there, and that's actually a good card for them. They would rather somebody else played it, so they might have wanted to leave it out there, but they only had 1 action point left. They didn't want to take this particularly, so it seemed like the best move for them. There was an election for the district attorney, but that didn't move. Nothing's really changing, although pink is getting close to passing black, which would move the contractor advantage to black. Pink may not want to do that unless they can get a big boost. Of course, you don't always have a lot of control in this game over what happens. Alright, well, dent out of the deck, and it's going to be black's turn. Okay, we're not quite done with black's turn, and his turn started out really pathetic, and probably still is. He basically took a lot of planning cards, and he took this port that has a huge transportation bonus. That way he'd get both the bucks for that, both the payouts for that. Which sounds really good, but maybe isn't that tremendous. He gives bonuses to industry, which he also has. He'd love to have built it. He had not enough money to build anywhere, basically. Even if he had turned in, he only had a $2 card, and he had no cash to begin with. However, we're starting to see some events come out here, and among them we got the reshuffle. Let's see what happened. First, there was an urban decay, and there had been a commercial building here owned by green. Nobody wanted it. You had to pay 3 prestige to keep it, or to get it. I don't know what this is for. That's not bad. Maybe somebody built something, or maybe I was just looking. So nobody took that. And then we had a local headlines, which gave the most valuable building, which was a green one, actually, sitting... Wait a minute. It's not a green one. No, it's a black one. It's this part. So I lied. Remember, black's the active player, so he gets to choose out of the options. So actually black gets 1, 2, 3 and $3 for that, which he desperately needs, but we'll see what happens when he comes around. The uncontrolled building, well, the one nobody wanted, was demolished, and now the whole pile is going to be shuffled. I'll come back in case something, if something happens on black's turn, otherwise we'll be going to white's turn. It was prime real estate that gives you some bonuses for having the most things near a park. I don't remember who got it actually, but that was the only really interesting thing that happened on black's turn. White's turn, he kind of used a bit of trying to convince other people and saying, hey, I'll do this first, but then he couldn't quite pull through with it. What he did was he took the radio station, which is from the city deck, and built that, and that would keep the deck in play so that people can hurt green more. And he's trying to convince people, hey, do that wherever you can. But he had an extra action point left after he bought that, and ended up taking a housing project, which could really hurt him if it came out. It was in the 1-point spot. He wanted to take it. He can put it somewhere where it won't hurt him and maybe get a bonus off of it. But the big issue here was he really didn't want somebody hitting him with it. He didn't get a lot of gain on his turn, and not much happened actually. There was a payout in cash, but other than that, nothing much at all. And that payout comes here from the sit deck. And now we go to another turn over on pink. And we can definitely see everybody knows the game's getting to the end. Green's trying to kill this deck, and now everybody else is beginning to say, maybe I should pull back from that big urban center and start building these smaller things again. It's a harder decision to make, though, because you gain less ground overall, but green is so far in the lead that I think that they can make that decision for the most part. Of course, like white, they're going to still pull things out if it's really advantageous to them to do so. Well, the pink player had some interesting actions on their turn. We'll move this to green. First of all, they bought their hobby shop that they had reserved. Now, in a sense, this was kind of a bone because they could have stripped money from people, but really, they just wanted to collect the prestige, and they got a couple of it by putting it here. Then the other one they did was they took the Plaza, which is actually a Metropolis card, and they spent another one of their planning cards that they had in hand. Now, they're not destroying other people's stuff, which is kind of a shame, because that's where their power was, but they put it off. They could have built the pink here, but then the red would have been not as valuable right away as a payoff. So instead they built the Plaza down here, which was very expensive. It was 19 bucks. Nobody spent that much on a thing, 12, 6, and 1. But they gained 1, 2, 3, 4 prestige for that. They got a public service marker and then a payout for that, which pretty much gave everybody a prestige. And then they were able to move that 6 prestige over to here. Now, this isn't necessarily tremendously to their advantage. Their real strength has been this money row. They don't want to. They couldn't get rid of that with this card. No real events came up. No payouts. Nothing exciting. And we move on to the green turn. Oh, I forgot to mention one cool thing they did. They picked up this tech manufacturer, which was again off the city deck instead of the Metropolis deck. Big expensive card. They've got the Union Boss, so they could get away with it. But they may not, well, they will have the Union Boss. They may not have the contractor for long because they're no longer losing. This allows you to discard a build permit, and you get wealth equal to its payout and prestige equal to the number of permits on that card. Probably they'll want the prestige at this point, but that seems like a really cool card. It's got a factory payout. They've got 2 factories. It's got a 4 prestige payout, so they could, or money for that matter, but they could choose whichever one they want. Really, really cool advantage. They have huge amounts of cash, so they don't want to go with money so much. They couldn't do that and the other things they were doing this turn. And they kind of wanted to keep moving things along, especially getting this counter someplace where they can control it, because now they can move the factory up into here, or actually here. No, here will work fine, and kind of keep adding to that row. This has become much more valuable to them. They have the cash to do that, where other players may not have that kind of excess money. And now green's turn, still trying to pull the cards out, builds a nuclear plant, and that was up here. The nuclear plant gives some bonuses, which is you could split the industry. One row gets 4 money for each industry in it, and one row gets 4 prestige for it. He took the 4 prestige building this way. The other row would be the money, but there's no industry on there, so nobody got any cash. He wanted to build over here. He would have gotten the biggest bonus building here or here, because he could have gotten the connectivity, etc. Problem is, this extra 6 prestige, he didn't have the cash for it anymore. What's cool about this, he got the energy 5 trigger, which was 15 prestige for him, and we see he's lapped them, which I'm marking this way. I think that's how you're supposed to do it. There was a lot of money paid out, including a big 12er, which of course brought more tons of money to pink, but other people have gotten some to help compensate for their position. And there was also an election, which caused the treasurer to switch hands, and when that election happened, the contractor also switched hands, because black's in last place now. So the active player goes over to black, and those urban renewal cards he's holding look a lot less valuable at this point, because he's got that power automatically. Well, black's turn was very, very eventful. They pulled a city card up, strip mall, and built it. Expensive card, bought. I don't even remember where they built it. They used the urban renewal ability of the contractor and built it over a green space, destroying the green property, and as well as putting it in a very, very nice space, although it cost them a little bit here. 12, 13, 14, 20 bucks basically. However, they were able to build it in a rich location. And it was this one, with a lot of prestige that they grabbed from that. And I think they also took a building permit with their final action point, and that's great and all. It's just a city card, so it didn't hurt anyone, except the city deck is filled with events. And wow, we had a lot of stuff happen there. There was a little bit of money generated, I believe, off this card, the 4-point card there. Nothing too exciting. But then, what do we have? Entrepreneur, okay, a minor bonus, but then a scandal. And here we see these kind of headline events that having the media gives you this slow trickle of points. Well, all 3 of these are. The scandal came up, and that made everybody lose 2 red for each civ they held, except for the white player, who's the district attorney. And then there was a labor strike, where the union boss got to pick a vocation marker, and he took a tourism marker away from the green player, and that went back up on the pile. And then there was an earthquake, which destroyed one of the poorest buildings, a little house up here somewhere, and I believe it was Green's. I'm not sure, but whoever it was not willing to pay 9 or 9, and the mayor ended up losing 3 prestige for that. At the end of it all, Green's still way up there, but White's pulled somewhat ahead of the other players and pushed them back. Alright, well, we're going to move to the white player and see what he does at the end of the turn. Okay, and finishing up the white player's turn in this cycle. He had a card in his favor spot, the housing project. He would have liked to have done cooler things with it, but he ended up just building it here, which with his district attorney would have double, you know, he gets double rewards, but there really wasn't much that he could do that was better than this for him. And this at least hurt Green by causing the residents to lose 4 each. It also took a public service chit, and since all the public service had been used up, he could take one of Green's ones, and then there was a payout for that, which he got a couple more prestige from. That's all cool. But we also had an election for the police chief. At this point, the police chief has the most valuable residential building. Well, we look along the residential row, and we get a pink one here. And there really aren't any others that had any significant value. So pink ended up getting the police chief, but some of the payouts, etc., that happened, pink's falling behind, so they also got the contractor. Nice combination of events. Too bad they're falling behind so badly. But green is clearly is actually losing ground on everyone because of the targeting that's going on, and people are trying not to bring these cards out until they get closer. So we've got kind of this point where, yeah, some of those cards are coming out, but the game is slowing down. People aren't, no one but green is trying to push the deck. So this deck has stayed pretty much the same. Green doesn't have a lot going for them. They don't have a lot of money, and they don't have any advantages anymore, any elected positions or anything. So there's not much that they have running for them because people are targeting them so hard. It's kind of a cool aspect. Definitely allows for a lot of catch-up. Problem is, do you get rewarded for doing well early on? You know, I kind of dislike, it's nice that a game stays close, that nobody can completely run away with it. It looked like green is, but there's significant power to take them down. However, and there's still incentive not to. There's still these cards that you kind of want more. But now we're seeing the city cards go, and if these all run out, then we may see the town cards start to go, as the rest of the players don't want to end the game too quickly. It's kind of a neat position to be in. White also grabbed, again from the city deck, the construction firm. Not a huge advantage to it. He can get some planning cards from people from it if he discards a planning card when he builds it. The main reason here was he had to spend cards, and just taking lots of build permits doesn't seem terribly advantageous compared to taking some of the actual buildings. We'll see. It's hard to tell. That building may be kind of boning him by sitting in his favor spot. Same thing with the port here. These are expensive cards that are tough to bring out. All right, I'm going to wrap this one, send it up, keep playing.